This week on Big Red's Cooking, we make a corn and bacon chowder. Hi, and welcome back to Big Red's Cooking. As always, I'm Big Red. Go ahead. So, got another, what I think is going to be a fantastic video for you. You know, this week I'm going to do a bacon and corn chowder. We're starting to see corn pop up onto the grocery shelves again. And corn is one of my favorite ingredients. And I've actually got some bacon I made myself earlier this year. So it's got that nice smokiness and things like that. And this is a really simple meal to do. But as always, you know what? You guys don't want to listen to me talk right now. You want to see me in action. So let's go ahead and we'll jump on over to that workbench and we'll pick up over there. Alright, so to get started, I'm actually going to start with rendering off a little bit of bacon. And this is bacon I actually made myself. Smoked this. And it's just absolutely beautiful. And much easier to make than what you would actually think. So this is going to have a texture very similar to like the slab bacon that you buy at the stores. You know, so obviously if you don't have homemade bacon kicking around, which you likely don't, you can buy some of that slab bacon. If you don't have slab bacon, just go ahead and use real bacon. That's not the end of the world. I'm just going to cube this up and we'll get that rendering right off the bat. And what we want to be able to do then is to pull the fat out of this. And we can use that then for our sauteing that we have to do. And I always, when I'm starting bacon, especially for something like this, and I want to make sure that it doesn't burn, I always start in a cold pan. Alright, so while that's coming, I'm going to go ahead and dice up an onion. I just got a medium white onion here. Nothing special about this. Of course, Tal and Cyan know I got bacon going, so they had to come over and investigate. As always, I got my container there for my scraps from my garden. I was actually working in my garden there just a few days ago, getting some new raised beds. And with a little bit of luck, by the end of the summer, I'll be doing some videos featuring some of the stuff I'm going to grow. I hope to grow in my garden this year. Again, nothing fancy with this. I'm just doing sort of a medium dice. And just put that to the side for the moment. A couple of cloves of garlic, which is an unusually small amount of garlic for me, but I just want a hint of garlic in this one. You know, I normally like to have that garlic really popping a flavor, but with this corn chowder, I really want that sweetness of that corn to come out, and I don't want to overwhelm it. So now in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my corn all peeled up. Now if you don't have fresh corn, you know, you can very easily do this with, you know, frozen corn. I don't think I would recommend canned corn because that's fully cooked. You know, frozen corn is about 80% cooked and tends to have a more natural flavor. You know, anytime you're canning a product, there ends up being a lot of added salts and things like that. But, you know, if that's what you had to work with, and I have had to do that before, you know, feel free to use that. Again, at the end of the day, as long as you're happy, who cares what I think? You know, use what works for you. You know, don't think of these as hard and fast set rules. Now if I'm baking, I wouldn't suggest you going ahead and making any substitutions. Baking doesn't work that way. But when it comes to cooking, you know, think about how I'm using the ingredient, not the particular ingredient. You know, and that'll sort of give you some ideas on how you can make substitutions. So I find the easiest way to deal with corn is just put it down to a bowl. Use sort of a smaller knife. Just cut our corn. Nibs right off, right down into our bowl. Now I know with that bacon that I have, it's a very lean bacon. So I'm going to go ahead and actually add a little bit of oil down into the bottom as well. Because what I'm going to eventually have to do is to make a roux. And it's going to help to keep everything going along just nice. Alright, so our bacon is all nice and rendered off, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my onions over, add those to the pot. And you get anything stuck to the bottom of your pot here, you'll notice I'm scraping the bottom line because all that flavor, that's basically just a flavor bomb, and I want to make sure that that ends up in my soup here, or my chowder. Is there anything better than the smell of onions and bacon cooking together? Kind of hard to beat, I think. Okay, so now that our onions are nice and translucent, I'm going to go ahead and add my corn right on in. Alright, so now that corn has had a chance to cook up, I'm going to add my garlic. I always add garlic last because garlic cooks really quickly, and burned garlic is one of the most horrible flavors in the world. So I always want to make sure my garlic is added in last so that I get all that flavor. I get the specific flavor that I want, I should say. Alright, so the last thing we got to do before we start adding liquid in is we got to make a roux. Now my pan here is looking a little bit dry. And basically a roux is equal parts by weight of some form of fat, whether it would have been the bacon fat, vegetable oil, in this case a little bit of butter. So now that's going to give me that little bit extra flavor, boost, and make it a little easier for me to make my roux. And that roux is what's going to give us the body to that soup. I'll go ahead and get that melted down in there. And I've got about 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm going to go just pour that right down on top. And make sure that that gets really well combined all the way through. I don't want it sticking to the bottom, so make sure you're scraping the bottom of your pan. I've got a liter here of chicken stock I made. I did that in my pressure canner. I'm just going to go right on down in there. I'll give that a good stir. And what we want to do, is give that a good stir right away So that flour that we just added in with our vegetables and our corn and stuff like that will get dissolved into that cold liquid and give us that chowder body that we're looking for. I'm going to turn this right up to a high temperature so that comes to a simmer. Now while I'm waiting for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dice up my potato. Now, this is one of these things where it's a personal choice. I love the skins of potato. And unless it's sort of a bad spot where I might want to cut away a little bit of it, I personally like to leave the skin on the potato. If you don't like the skin of the potato, you know, feel free, go ahead and cut that off. I'm just going to go ahead and do a basic dice on this. And what I like to do, you'll notice I took, you know, one side off. That gives you a nice flat edge for it to sit there. And then what I do is I create nice big thick slices. And then my next step is take those thick slices and cut them into sticks. And now I can take that and cut that into my dice. And I didn't go ahead and prep these earlier because I didn't want my potato turning brown on me. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my potato right down into the pot. And basically at this point now we just gotta let this simmer, come up to a simmer, and let that cook for a little while until that potato and to that corn is fully cooked. So I'm gonna go ahead, get a little bit of cleanup done, and we'll come back in 20-25 minutes after that's had a chance to cook for a little while. Alright, so our chowder is coming along really nice. It's simmering pretty good here. Starting to thicken up. That potato is nearly cooked. So the last thing we need for our chowder is some cream. Now we could go ahead and just sort of pour this in, but one thing you actually want to do is heat your cream ahead of time. So I've got a ½ liter of cream here I'm going to add to this. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to turn it on here, and we're going to let this come up and warm up so it's less likely that it'll actually split on us when we go ahead and add it into our chowder. So we'll give that a few minutes. I'll come back in a couple of moments when that's all nice and heated. By that point that should be all cooked and we'll be able to finish off our chowder. Oh, this is smelling so good. Alright, so our cream is all nice and warm here now. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn my heat right down on my chowder here. Just sort of blend this right on down through. Oh, it's going to be so tasty. So, all we got left to do now is get a bowl of this served up. You know what, we'll meet back over on the counter over there and we'll give this a little taste. Oh, I can't wait. So doesn't that just look wonderful? And you can see those nice pieces of corn, that bacon. Let's get this little taste. So good. You get the sweetness of that corn, wrapped with that nice richness of the cream, that little bit of saltiness, that little bit of smokiness from the bacon. It all just comes together, and wow, bam! Just packs so much flavor in a small little bite. And you can see it really wasn't that hard to make that. None of you guys watching out there, this would be no problem for anyone here. Just follow don't get yourself caught up into particulars too much. Just think about what I'm doing. Have a little bit of fun. So as always, I really do hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you'll go ahead and share it with your friends and social media and give me a hand, trying to build that subscription base. Speaking of which, if you haven't done so yet, I know there'll be a subscription button. I know it's going to be here or here, somewhere on this screen. I can never remember where it is. But if you haven't done so yet, hit subscribe. You can always hit that bell and you'll get a little notification every time I post a video each week. If there's a video that you want me to do, go ahead and send me a message. Or drop a comment down below. Tell me what you liked about this and what you didn't like about it. Keep coming back. I get most of my ideas from you guys, so I want to hear from you. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're really eating some good food, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye for now. Niblets.